Hey, so how are you guys doing today? Alberto Vidal here. So last week I pretty much was at the same place getting my oil change, Firestone. And well, when I left this place, I was getting an oil change for my car. Today I'm getting an oil change for my wife's car. But when I left this place, I had a thought process. I shared with you some little insights on, taking care of yourself and all that. But today what I want to share with you guys is just something a little bit different. How interesting life is, and what we need to do to really not take life for granted, take opportunities for granted, take experiences for granted. When I was in my young teens, my dad and I didn't have a really good relationship, and thank God it's beautiful now. But in my late teens, we didn't have a great relationship, and he was a really good basketball player. I mean, he was a tremendous basketball player back when he was younger, and because him and I didn't have a good relationship, I didn't want to be like him. I didn't want to play basketball. I really stayed away from the sport. I was a really, really good baseball player, and so that was my focus in my young teens. Is I wanted to play baseball. I wanted to be as good as I could be, because I didn't want to have any really good correlations or similarities to my father. So when I was 13, my dad broke his leg, and he used to play some ball in a local park with a lot of his colleagues and old friends from back in the day. And they used to get together around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning every Saturday morning, and they would play for about 4 to 5 hours easily every Saturday when I was around 13. And these guys could ball. I mean, my dad, let me tell you, my dad could play some ball, and he could have gone a long way, except his dad, my grandfather, shattered his dreams really quickly. But I knew that, and I understood that, and I wasn't trying to let that happen to me. And that's why I focused on baseball. But when I was 13, my dad broke his leg playing basketball. And so one day he came up to me, the day that happened, he goes, well, you're going to have to go play in my place because I can't play anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I laughed, and I gave the typical 13-year-old snobby, funny remarks, like, yeah, sure, I'll go play for you and whatever. And not realizing that when I was going to go play, my intentions were bad. My intentions were really to go make them look bad, because I had so much anger, so much hatred because of the situations at hand when I was 13, and the relationship, or the lack of relationship, that I had with my father, that my intentions were all negative. And that's how life is now. If our intentions are all negative to go get back at people, we're just going to get those negative results back at us. So needless to say, when I went over there next Saturday morning, the group of people that they knew me, because they knew my father really well, they're like, hey, you're little Mikey, where's your dad, what happened? And I told them, and they're like, oh, great, well, so are you anything like your dad? And I'm like, no. And these guys, they're like, well, you don't play basketball? And I'm like, nope. And I come to realize that it wasn't about the game, it was about the philosophy, it was about life. And these guys, they taught me a lesson that later on I learned to realize that, again, it wasn't about basketball, it wasn't about the principle of the game, it was about just everything encompassed in life. It's about teamwork, it's about leadership, it's about going out there, fellowship with individuals, and just showing people that you can go from nothing to something. And let me tell you, for a 13-year-old kid who couldn't play basketball at all, within the year, I was top dog. I learned how to play like never before. I mean, I took the sport and I grew. And, when nobody used to want to pick me up for games as a 13-year-old kid, by the time I was 14, I had people wanting to play with me. I had people saying, I got this guy. I went from being little Mikey to being like little MJ. I mean, I could play. I could seriously play. And you know, I at the age of 14, I ended up meeting these two guys that ended up being really good friends of mine, lifelong friends. And I ended up playing with them, and we ended up meeting another gentleman that joined our crew. And by the end of it, by the time I was 16, I had a group of 5 guys that we just ran the courts. Nobody can take us off the courts. And every Saturday, we ran those courts. So I went from selfish, negative ambitions to humble, positive environments. And I look back and I think about that, I'm like, wow, if I would have gone out of it the whole way, not looking to learn, I would have missed all the opportunities. And I look at back and I'm thinking to myself, that's how we got to do in life. Don't miss the opportunities. Don't go at things negative. Live for the moment. Keep moving forward. No matter how negative life may be, it doesn't mean that your life has to encompass that sadness, that just environment. Be above that. Be beyond that. Always be extraordinary. Because you know what? Even though you won't see it right then and then, if you keep moving forward, the progress and the light will shine. It will flourish. It's like a beautiful tree. Here, I'll give you an example. There you go. Here's a tree. It's like a beautiful tree. It starts from the seed. You got to nurture it. You got to feed it. You got to grow into it. And you can't quit. And before you know it, it blossoms. And now you're breathing air. Now you're up there. So don't give up. Don't quit. Life might take you through some detours. Take the detours. Take the alternative route. Take some risks. Invest in yourself. Take care of yourself. Go out there and be extraordinary.